Hi, I'm Rob, and this is something that interests me. This will be my first video of 2022, and hoping to start the season off strong and get a few videos out to you guys. Hopefully you'll enjoy them. Today's video, I'm going to do an initial impression of my new Kona Rove DL gravel bike. Took it for a ride today and thought I would share with you my experience with it and some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I don't like. Hopefully you'll enjoy this video. If you do, give me a thumbs up. So I want to give you a quick rundown on what the Kona Rove DL is. It is a gravel bike from Kona, and it is a steel frame. It's butted chromoly, which is nice, and if you grew up like I did in the 90s and early 2000s, you'll remember the mantra of steel is real. It does take out some of the vibration from the road. It is a little bit heavier, but very solid ride and good feeling. This bike was built with a SRAM Apex drivetrain. SRAM Apex shifters that are integrated with the brakes and SRAM Apex cranks. I mated the cranks right now with a set of 1-up composite pedals that I took off of one of my mountain bikes, and they work just fine today. The bike rolls on some DT Swiss R500 DB rims that have Shimano 105 hubs in them. And then they're mated with a nice set of Terravale Rutland 27.5 tires. That's a brand I'm not familiar with, but I was happy with what I saw today when I took them out for a ride. And then for stopping power, this bike has some TRP Spire SLC mechanical disc brakes. They're 2-piston brakes and they worked fine coming down a very steep hill. So they have plenty of stopping power. It's not like a 4-piston mountain bike brake, but I don't need that much power while going out for gravel rides. So I'm new to gravel riding. I'm not new to road biking. I've had a road bike for the last 10 years and enjoyed it, but never felt that the bike was very well suited for Vermont. In Vermont, we've got some pretty rough roads. We have a lot of dirt roads, and the bike just rode harsh. I got out quite a bit on it, but I'm hoping now to get out a little bit more and do some back road riding and see some of the countryside in my area. And the gravel bike looked like that would be a perfect fit for it. So as I learn about this aspect of the sport, I've been mountain biking for years, I've ridden, and I'll try gravel biking now. So today's ride was one of opportunity. I had the day off and we got some warm weather this weekend. I lost all the snow that we had and it was warm enough to get out. It was about 38 degrees when I left the house and headed out. The roads were clear, although the dirt roads are soft, which is to be expected when the snow melts. So not super fast rolling, but I was able to really get a feel for the bike both on the gravel roads and on asphalt. So I bought this bike as a late Christmas present and put it on my trainer. So I've got a few hours on it now, just pedaling indoors, and it's really tough to get a feel for a bike on a trainer. It does work, and I'm happy to have it because I need something to get me off the couch. I did make a change to the rubber and got a WTB slick to put on the back so that it worked with the trainer and didn't wear out my knobby tires as quickly. So the first thing I noticed when I started my ride was the bike was a lot more comfortable on the road than it was on a trainer. Something about how the angle of the bike is when you're indoors. I haven't quite gotten the seat set up right on it yet, but I'm going to work on that. On the road, I felt that I was very comfortable on the bike. I was happy with that because my road bike, my hands would fall asleep, my feet would fall asleep. It seemed like there were a lot of pressure points and even some pressure on the shoulders. And I'm sure that's probably due to the bike not being fitted quite right for me. But this bike I was comfortable on as soon as I started pedaling. First part of the ride was on gravel or a dirt road. The road was wet, so I got a little bit of mud sprayed up on me, but not too bad. I was expecting a little bit more having a knobby tire, but I think underneath the surface the road's still pretty frozen. And I was also quite impressed with the traction that I was getting from these Terravale Rutland tires. I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. They're wide enough, they're 2.1s, so I felt very planted on the road, and even going around corners, they held real well, so I was happy with that. If you've ridden a road bike on dirt, you know that it can be sketchy because of how narrow the tires are. These are considerably larger, and they were also not running at 100 psi. I took a guess and went with 40 for today, and that seemed about right, but we'll see as the season goes on if I get to, or I have to change those. The next part of the ride was on asphalt, and that was actually quite surprising. Again, the tires ran smooth, very quiet. I was expecting a little more hum from them because of how fast you can pedal with the bike. And there was a little bit of noise, but nothing too crazy. The next part of the ride was a dirt road, and it was a fairly long dirt road for this area with a real good climb to it. It went up about 800 feet in elevation, which is not too bad for this area, but it was a long climb up. And I felt it in my legs, which was kind of nice because I haven't been able to get out and do much skiing this year, so the exercise was really appreciated. And then the downhill on the backside of that road gets to be very steep and windy, and the bike handled that without a problem at all. So that was pretty nice to feel. Then back onto the asphalt for the last leg home. Overall, I was comfortable on the bike for not having ridden it outside yet and only been on the trainer. I thought the performance was good and enjoyed the feel of the tires and the wheels. I mean, that was a good setup. A good set of wheels does make a difference on a bike, and these DT Swiss R500s really worked well. One of the things that I didn't like about the bike was the crank arms and how they would rub against my foot when I was pedaling. It may have to do with the fact that I have small feet and I was wearing a 510 free rider shoe that's kind of puffy around the ankles. So if I had bigger feet, that might cure it. But what I think I'm going to do is go to my Pearl Izumi shoe that I used for road riding and get some Crank Brother candy pedals for this bike. So that shoe is much narrower profiled on the sides, not quite as puffy, and I think that will fix that problem. Here's kind of a close-up of the wheel. These Terravale Rutlands. Very happy with these. You can see they've got a pretty aggressive tread pattern for a gravel bike with decent side knobs so you can go around corners and not have to worry too much. The front sprocket is a 42 tooth. What I may do to help this climb a little bit better, being that it's a 1x, and I did find on that long climb that I was working pretty hard for it, I may need to go down a couple of teeth just to give me some better climbing for this area. On the road and on the flats, this bike had plenty of speed, which I enjoyed. It went quite well and never felt like it was being held back because of the rubber that's on here. Overall, I think this is a pretty good looking bike. I do have on my nog blinder in the front and the rear. Since I have to share the road, I think that's important to make sure that I can be seen. Unfortunately, there's a lot of drivers out there on dirt roads and on asphalt that just don't seem to notice bicyclists. So anything I can do to help them see me, I think will help me out in the long run and keep me that much safer. So overall, my impression of this bike was this is a good value for getting into it. If you've never ridden a road bike before or a gravel bike before and it's your first one, you may not need to go to the Rove DL. There are some great affordable options out there. The regular Rove, I believe, is under $1,000 and is a great bike to get started on. going to the DL with the steel frame and the upgraded components made me feel a little bit better about the bike and knowing that I'll be able to keep this for quite a while. Good things, it was very smooth riding. Enjoyed the vibration dampening between the softer tires and steel frame. It really made the Vermont potholes and stress cracks in the asphalt just disappear. It rode nice. Was a little bit challenging. Maybe challenging is not the right word, but it was tiring climbing a long hill. I will work on that, both fitness level and possibly changing the front chainring. But overall, I thought this was a good bike. I'd recommend it to somebody who's looking for a gravel bike if you can find one. This would be one to take a look at. So wrapping up, I think the Kona Rove DL is a great bike. I'm looking forward to many years with it, and also the ability to use this as a commuter bike to go to work with, I think, the pending fuel prices coming. Anything I can do to save a little bit of money would be a good thing. And being the way this bike is set up, it has plenty of braze-ons, so I'll be able to add panniers to it if I want to bring my clothes to work with me, or maybe even if I decide to get into doing some bike packing around the area. I'm Rob, and I hope this is something that interested you, because it was something that interested me.